Shalom. We are looking today at Psalm 15, a psalm of David. Lord, who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? He who lives without blame, who does what is right, and in his heart acknowledges the truth, whose tongue is not given to evil, who has never done harm to his fellow, or borne reproach for his acts towards his neighbor, for whom a contemptible man is abhorrent, but who honors those who fear the Lord, who stands by his oath even to his own hurt, who has never lent money at interest or accepted a bribe against the innocent. The man who acts thus shall never be shaken. So what is going on here? We heard in the psalm immediately before this, Psalm 14, that the psalmist was lamenting the fact that the world is filled with all sorts of bad and wicked people. And the psalmist basically says, everybody's bad, everything is foul, the world is filled with corruption, just like the generation of the flood at the time of Noah. And now we're hearing about people who live without blame, doing what is right, never speaking evil against another person, reproaching a neighbor, and so on. So this seems very curious. When we think about it a little bit more deeply and look a little bit more closely at the language of Psalm 15, we notice a few interesting things. The psalmist asks, who may sojourn in God's tent? Who may dwell on God's holy mountain? Well, that's a very good question. Indeed, who? We know that in the book of Exodus, when Moses asks to see God's face and behold God's presence, God says, no one can see my face and live. No one can literally sit by the side of God or alongside the heavenly throne. It's simply not possible, and it is not within the purview of man's place in this world or in this universe to be right up there, directly sitting at the side of God. So this is maybe a setup in a way. When the psalmist asks, Lord, who may dwell in your holy mountain? Who may sojourn in your tent? Maybe the answer really is nobody. Not even Moses could do it. And if Moses couldn't do it, as highly evolved a person as he was, then no one can do it. And this is actually borne out by the very next phrase in the psalm, where the psalmist answers, he who lives without blame, holech tamim. Tamim means blameless or perfect or innocent. Who can dwell on God's holy mountain? Only someone who is completely blameless and innocent, who always does what is right, who speaks the truth in his heart, who never lies. Forget about lying to other people. What about lying to ourselves? It's difficult enough to be truthful to others, but perhaps almost impossible to always be truthful internally with ourselves. Who has never done harm to his fellow? I don't know about you, but I certainly don't fit in that category. I'm not even near it. I can't even begin to count the number of times that I may have harmed other people. People in my outside circle and people in my inner circle and in my own family as well. So the fact is that none of us is perfect. No one lives without blame. No one always does what is right. And therefore, no one qualifies to be able to sojourn in God's tent and dwell on God's holy mountain. But if that is the case, then how can this psalm have anything of value to teach us? Well, the answer is it's all about progress, not perfection. No one can be perfect, but we can all be better, and we can all grow as human beings, spiritually and ethically and morally. We can all grow emotionally. We can become stronger, and we can become healthier, not just physically, but also spiritually and emotionally. Even though we may not be entitled to sit at God's right hand because we are unable to be perfect in our lives, we are able to be better. Especially at a time like this, when so many of us who are not on the front lines as healthcare workers, essential workers, and so on, who have so much more time to be at home, have also so much more time to reflect, to think about ourselves, to think about our roles and our place in our families and amongst our friends and in our communities, to evaluate and analyze in what ways are we falling short, in what ways can we grow and do better. And so I see this psalm as a challenge, not to be perfect, but to strive towards perfection. Not to live blamelessly, but to live better. Not to always refrain from speaking evil about someone, although that is certainly a valuable and worthwhile goal, but to try to improve in that respect, to avoid gossip and slander, to be more truthful within our own hearts about ourselves, to catch ourselves when we are lying, when we are speaking falsehoods internally, either about ourselves or about others. We can all do better. We can all improve. And so in that sense, this psalm has something very valuable to teach us. Again, we may not be perfect, but it is our job as human beings to strive for perfection, to try to become better and more fulfilled human beings each and every day. Thank you.